Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Baza, a new primary weapon that was added into Warframe. It's actually a submachine gun, which is also silent, so it's the first of its kind ever to be introduced into Warframe as far as I know. I might be mistaken on that, but I'm pretty sure this is the first ever suppressed submachine gun that we have in Warframe, and I really like it, not because, one, it's a good gun, but because of its design. I think it's kind of somewhat unique, but it also reminds me of one of the legendary weapons from Borderlands 2, known as the Bitch. It was a Hyperion legendary, and I forget who actually farmed it off, but it gives me that feeling just because of how it's designed, and it's super cool, and just because of how it fires. The sound for it is absolutely insane in my opinion. I love how this weapon sounds. I don't know why, but I'm using it with Loki obviously because it's meant to be like a stealth weapon. Man, I derped up already, but you know it's meant to be a stealth weapon. But you build it just like you build the Soma. So I have a very messy build right here, but we're just gonna go ahead and break it down and make it easy to understand for anyone who's really watching. So to begin with, whenever we're building a weapon, we throw on our freemium damage mods, heavy caliber. Suration, if I can find it, because I am blind, okay? Just fun fact, I have astigmatism in both eyes. Not using that as an excuse or anything, but that's just a fun fact with Flynn, because I have nothing else really to talk about right now. And third, we're throwing on split chamber. Again, if I can find it. I might as well just search for these things instead of trying to find them and act all cool, because I just made myself look like an idiot in the process of doing so. But we have Suration, heavy caliber, and split chamber, and these are freemium damage mods. I like to keep the three of these together. Then we throw on our crit mods, so that would be Point Strike and Vital Sense. So here's Point Strike, and then Vital Sense will be all the way at the back. Maybe not. Where's my max rank Vital Sense? That would be very nice if I could just like have that front of my face right now. Okay, we can't find it. We're just gonna have to search for it again. I'm super blind. But there's your crit mods on, and then last but not least, you throw on your elemental combo. So in our case, we're going to be going up against a heavy gunner, so it makes sense for us to run corrosive damage. So we throw on Stormbringer, and then we throw on Infected Clip, if I can find that. Again, it's a dash polarity, so here we go, Infected Clip. And that gives us our corrosive elemental combo, as well as a flat damage boost, as you can see right here. So you add all these damage numbers together, that's your total amount of damage. Pretty cool, right? On top of that, you have your crit chance of 65% from your base 26%, and then a crit multiplier 6.2 from your base 2.8, because you have obviously Point Strike and Vital Sense thrown onto your build here, which is pretty cool. This is a 6 form of build. You can tell that by looking up here in the top right hand corner. You see we have the little 6 and the little star below it. So you just have to throw on these V polarities right here, and then another 2 dash polarities, and then that'll be enough to fit on basically any build that I'm about to show you guys. So this is basically like the standard of what you want to have on your Baza. Most cases, Suration, heavy caliber, split chamber, those mods will never change unless you're running something like I forget the name of the mod because it's a very recent mod that was added into the game. I believe it's called Hunter Munitions. That's it. You can swap heavy caliber out for Hunter Munitions if you don't have heavy caliber yet, because you can get Hunter Munitions from, I believe it was from the Plague Star event. I don't know if you can get it anymore, but you know, people had a lot of these farmed up, so you may be able to get one for a very low price in the market. But it's a very good mod, and it's definitely something you can throw on over heavy caliber because of how it works, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But this is basically the canvas that you want to have set up, and then from this point onwards, you can basically throw on anything you want, right? So if you really wanted to, like for all I care, if you're only doing like, let's say, content which, you know, you're not going over like level 100 or whatever, you can throw basically anything on here. Like you can throw on prime fast hands for all I care, and this build will still do you good. But if you're going like into higher level content, like level 150 and above, then you're gonna want to like copy some of the things that I show in today's video. Okay, so to begin with, what I usually like to do, like this is the build that I usually run on a crit primary weapon, is I would swap Point Strike into this unpolarized slot right here. And then I would throw on a Prime Beam mod. And the reason I throw on a Prime Beam mod is because this acts as like a multiplicative increase to your damage. This is usually my go-to option, and then I might also change this up and then throw on like Hunter Munitions or something over heavy caliber if I choose to do so. But I'll show you basically like how this build works, and you know, just what I run most of the time, because I'm very I'm like a jump in the enemy's face, shoot him in the face, and then let him die type of character, Dirt Flynn. But that's just kind of how I play the game. So I just get up in the enemy's face, shoot him like so, and then his health just kind of goes down. So you can do this as much as you want, and then he kind of just dies. So it'll take about 3 magazines here to get this guy dead. maybe 4, a little bit. 4 magazines to kill him. Not too bad, but what I would then do is maybe swap heavy caliber out for 100 munitions, because it is kind of just a better mod at this point. Whenever it comes to taking down those higher level enemies who have a lot of armor. So let's just go ahead and do you guys the example with 100 munitions thrown on here. Go ahead, simulate this guy again. Go invisible. Jump in this guy's face, and what happens is every time you get a crit hit an enemy, you have a 30% chance to basically like start a slash proc on the enemy, which is going to eat their health away. And you can see that 2 magazines in, and this guy is just going to bleed to death. So it's pretty cool. The DPS is pretty nice. Obviously, you're not going to be hitting super high numbers because you're taking away a little bit your damage because you're swapping out heavy caliber for 100 munitions, but it basically just means that you can get more consistent headshots and get more sustained DPS on the enemy's head, and hit those higher numbers more consistently, I guess. So it's really up to you what you want to use. Those are 2 different options there. But for newer players, what I recommend is you either go with the heavy caliber or the 100 munitions in this slot right here. We're just going to use heavy caliber because it's very easy to get and it's very easy to understand how to get it for a newer player. And what I would do is, as a newer player, this would be the type of build that I would run here. You'd have your free elemental combos, or free different elements thrown on. So you'd have Stormbringer and Infected Clip making your corrosive damage, and then you'd have your heat damage on top of that. And basically what this is going to do is it's going to give you a 75% damage increase versus the heavy gunners, plus another 25% on top of that because of your fire damage. So this depends where the mods that you use in terms of elements will be determined by the types of enemies that you struggle killing, I guess. So, like, let's say you struggle taking down bombards, what you really want to be running is, like, a radiation and cold combo rather than a corrosive and fire. And the reason you want to do that there is because you're going to be hitting more, higher numbers, because you're going to get that percentage increase to your damage because you have those specific damage types on, which makes sense. So, let's just go ahead, jump in, and demonstrate using this build versus the heavy gunner right here. We're going to go invisible again and just shoot this guy in the head, right? So, we're not dealing insane damage, but this would be the type of build that you would want to be running if you didn't have, like, something like the Prime Beam mods or, bladed rounds on Argon scopes, which are also other options, which I'm going to be showing and demonstrating in today's video. So we're going to swap over the Argon scope now, if I can actually parkour up here without being a doofus. There we go. Cool. So Baza. And we go back here, and we'd, rearrange our stuff again. Just before we move on, I want to reiterate the importance of making sure that your mods are in the right slot, because the modding section right here does have an order to it. So up here in the top left, this is slot 1. Down here in the bottom right, this is slot 8. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you want to make sure that if you're modding with more than 2 elemental combos or elemental mods, that you're not putting these in the wrong place. Because if I were to just put Hellfire in slot 2 besides Stormbringer, what would happen is we would get our radiation damage and toxin damage over the corrosive and fire, which we originally wanted, right? So, not that radiation and toxin is bad, it's just like for that particular case that we were modding for, that would actually negatively affect our damage because the heavy gunner resists radiation damage, if that makes any sense. So, just something to keep in mind whenever you are modding, and if you do plan to make a build like this, just make sure that your elemental mods are in order, I guess. Like, don't have to be, Infected Clip doesn't have to be in slot 2. Infected Clip can be in slot 3. You just have to make sure that Infected Clip is after Stormbringer in your modding section in terms of elemental mods, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that is basically that. But moving on, we're going to be jumping into more alternatives now. So we can throw on Shred, like the regular version of it, or we can throw on Prime Shred. So you'd move Point Strike back in that unpolarized slot, put Prime Shred down in here, or regular Shred, depending on what you have. And then this is also going to be a nice alternative to those, the Prime Beam mods, right? Because your fire rate's going to be insane. Obviously, you're still going to have to reload your weapon and stuff like that. And you have to be hitting those consistent headshots and stuff. But, you can run this with 100 munitions as well, which is something that I would actually recommend doing, because I feel like you would probably kill them a lot faster if you ran something like 100 munitions with this type of build. So let me just go ahead and parkour up here again. I'm not moving my wrist up enough whenever I go to jump up there like an idiot for some reason. So let's just go ahead and swap out heavy caliber for 100 munitions again and just kind of test out and see how that goes, because I have a feeling that that's actually going to be very powerful. Go ahead and make ourselves invisible, like so. And you'll see that we get so many different slash procs off. It's kind of insane. So, you have a 30% chance to proc a slash proc on every crit hit that you get, and because your crit hit is relatively high, then you're gonna be, you know, killing those guys relatively quickly. So, Prime Shred, 100 munitions, or even heavy caliber, very good option, at least in my opinion, and I recommend checking it out if you have the choice to do so. But next up, we are going to be putting on our point strike again, because I removed that there like an idiot. But we're going to be testing our Argon Scope, because this is one that people ask me a lot about. Basically, what Argon Scope does is it increases your crit chance on headshot while you're aiming down sights for about 9 seconds. So you have to sort of like meet a what's it called? Like meet a condition before this mod actually like comes into effect, which is the reason that I don't like using it, but it's still a good mod regardless. So hit the guy in the head and you'll see that increases your crit chance. Again, this might be very good with hunter munitions because you're critting more consistently. So this is it with heavy caliber right now, and then we'll test it out with hunter munitions after we get this kill. So you can see it with heavy caliber. Moving on, we're going to test it out with hunter munitions instead of heavy caliber, because I have a feeling that that's also going to be a relatively good combination there because of that increased crit chance that you get on headshot, and because we're not getting that minus the accuracy that heavy caliber will give us, it will let us hit those headshots more consistently and stuff like that. So we're able to proc those slash procs a lot more consistently, and that'll just eat away at the enemy's health, and then we kill them in about 3 magazines. So there you go, there's the enemy dead. Of course you have to like walk away from him a little bit, but it still gets the job done, if that makes any sense. So I've been saying if that makes any sense a lot recently, and I don't know why. It's just a thing that's kind of caught on. I'm sorry. I'll try to change it. But for now, it's kind of just going to roll off the tongue. Next up, we're taking a look at bladed rounds, and this one comes into play whenever you get a kill. Whenever you get a kill, you're going to get extra crit damage, which is pretty nice. So we're going to spawn in a heavy gunner, and we're going to spawn in a butcher beside the heavy gunner. We're going to kill the butcher, and then we're going to hit a consistent headshots on the heavy gunner and kind of just see the effect of damage. So let's just go ahead, hit him like so, and then you can see that we have an increase to our crit damage right there. We still have hunter munitions on. We will test out this exact same build with heavy caliber, but you can see that you do some pretty insane damage with bladed rounds. Bladed rounds is definitely, at least in my opinion, the way to go. Again, you can check out Prime Beam mods and stuff like that with hunter munitions combo too. I think that's a really good combo, so let's just go ahead and test it out as well. So I'm implying I haven't already shown that, but let's see. I forget already, but kill this guy, see how fast we killed him. And then this is the Prime Beam mods hunter munitions combo. We deal a lot of damage, implying we hit him consistently in the head, and now he's basically dead again. So pretty insane, at least in my opinion. So let's test out bladed rounds with heavy caliber. And then I think that will be it for the video, and we'll be calling it a day. So let's see, get our bladed rounds back on. Bladed rounds, sweet. Throw that on there. Jump in, simulate, go invisibly, because that gives us our bonus, because we're undetected, which is how you should be using this weapon, at least in my opinion. And then hitting him in the head. This is bladed rounds paired with heavy caliber, and it lasts for 9 seconds. But keep in mind, you have to be aiming down sights whenever you're using Argon Scope and bladed rounds. So, you know, that might be a turnoff for a few people, but you know, I still think it's pretty good. And the Baza is definitely a weapon worth picking up. I'll do the exact same thing with the Baza that I did with the Soma, and I throw it on Haro. So ideally, if you were to ask me for the ideal build for the Baza, what I would be telling you right now is hunter munitions plus your Prime Beam mods, so Prime Beam Corrupted, and then yeah, so this is basically what I would be running, and then I'd be going for those consistent headshots like so. If we just go ahead and spawn these guys in, get our energy up, and then we're going to chain them in place like so, hold them like that, and just go for those consistent headshots, and then this guy will die super quick. So 2 magazines and he dies. Really insane. Super insane in my opinion. I just think it's such a good weapon, and it pairs very well with a lot of the frames in game. Of course, it's not the Soma Prime, but you know, it's a very good just crit weapon, you know, in general. It's very fun to play with, it's just cool, and I recommend picking it up. So what I'm going to do now is just do what I like to do with most crit weapons that I get my hands on, is I play Haro. I press my 4, absorb all this damage, and then before my 4 goes to run, I chain these guys up, and you know, just kind of see that crit increase, plus the fire rate and release speed increase, and see the DPS that I can dish out. So, yeah, rest in peace. So you pair the Baza up with like different Warframe abilities like Banshee's Sonar, Haru's Covenants, Haru's Fire Rate buff, you know, different things that will allow you to sort of buff up your damage in some way, shape, or form. And the Baza is definitely a super effective weapon, especially if you're using it in stealth with Loki. I mean, there's no reason not to use it, I guess. So, anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead, hit that like button below. If you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.